Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Eri healed All Might? How would the League of Villains react to the sudden return of the absolute symbol of peace? And, most importantly, would the heroes be able to prevent the horrific casualties that tore their society apart? I'm Shoyo, and today we're gonna look at what would happen if All Might returned to his absolute prime in My Hero Academia. If you're into exploring these alternate universes and crazy MHA theories, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any content. Now, let's dive into how this story would change. So, as we all know, Eri's quirk, Rewind, is completely busted. In this timeline, seeing how dangerous the League of Villains was getting, UA focuses way more on helping Eri control her abilities much earlier. Under Aizawa's strict supervision, she'd practice on minor injuries first. Fast forward a few months, right before the massive hero raid on the Paranormal Liberation Front, Eri would finally be ready. She'd stand in front of a skinny, coughing Toshinori Yagi, activate her glowing horn, and completely rewind his body. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking, but didn't Deku already have One For All? How can All Might get his quirk back? Well, check this out. Eri's quirk doesn't steal transferred energy. It only rewinds the physical state of the body itself. Since One For All is a transferred power, Deku would obviously still keep the core and all the quirks of the past users. But by rewinding Toshinori's physical body back to his absolute prime right before his horrific first fight against All For One, the loss of his stomach and his destroyed respiratory system would be completely restored. His muscles would go back to their absolute peak. And here's the craziest part. Because his body would be totally healthy again, those residual embers of One For All, which were fading fast because his frail body couldn't handle them, would basically reignite to their max capacity. He wouldn't have a time limit anymore. He'd be able to use 100% of his residual power in a perfectly healthy, indestructible Prime body. Yep, Prime All Might would officially be back. And guys, let me tell you something. The villains are completely screwed. The return to the battlefield. Now, before we get to the absolute massacre All Might is about to unleash, you might be wondering, how would Endeavor react to this? The guy literally sacrificed his entire family dynamic and his sanity just to surpass All Might. Seeing the guy take back the #1 spot would totally crush his pride, right? Well, not exactly, and we'll get into Endeavor's insane character arc in just a bit. Keep watching. With All Might fully restored, the heroes launch their massive raid on Jaku Hospital. Things play out pretty much the same at first, but way, way better. Mirko still kicks down the door to Dr. Garaki's lab, taking on several high-end nomis. In the original timeline, she lost her arm and leg here, but right when she's about to get brutally attacked, a deafening shockwave shatters the reinforced ceiling. I am here. All Might would drop in, and the real power fantasy would begin. In literal seconds, All Might would speed blitz the high ends. These are monsters that gave Endeavor the hardest fight of his life, but Prime All Might would treat them like absolute cannon fodder. With a single devastating Carolina smash, he'd tear straight through 2 high ends, completely disintegrating their regeneration cells through pure air pressure before they could even blink. Mirko would just sit there on the floor, totally dumbfounded, smiling like a maniac as she watches the undisputed symbol of peace wipe the floor with the strongest nomis ever created without even breaking a sweat. It would be ridiculously satisfying to watch. The threat persists. Meanwhile, over at the Gunga Mountain Villa, the other heroes are fighting the massive Liberation Army. With news spreading through the comms that All Might is physically on the battlefield, the heroes' morale goes right through the roof. Kaminari tanks electricity attacks with a smile. Tokoyami pushes Redestro back with Dark Shadow, and everything seems perfect. But here's the thing. Even with the symbol of peace back, he can't be everywhere at once. This is a massive multi-front war, and the consequences of this world are still very real. While All Might is busy securing the hospital and capturing Garaki, Shigaraki would still wake up. His incubation tube would shatter, his white hair would blow in the wind, and a massive, terrifying decay wave would instantly spread across Jaku City. Just like before, the heroes would panic and start running for their lives as the ground turns to dust beneath them. But this time, All Might would leap out of the crumbling underground lab, grabbing Mirko, Aizawa, and a bunch of other pro heroes in his arms. Realizing he can't outrun the speed of the decay on the ground, he'd fire off a ridiculously powerful Texas Smash straight into the dirt, and the resulting wind pressure would launch all the surrounding heroes hundreds of feet into the air, completely saving them from Shigaraki's decay wave. It would be an absolutely insane flex of raw power and quick thinking. However, miles away, in the forest near the Gunga Villa, a tragedy would still happen. Gigantomaquia would wake up, smelling his master from far away. The walking natural disaster would begin his rampage, tearing through mountains and forests on his way to reach Shigaraki. Knowing All Might is tied up dealing with Shigaraki, Midnight would try to jump on Makia's back to put him to sleep with her quirk. But, just like in the original timeline, she'd be violently ambushed by the Paranormal Liberation Front members hiding on his back. Despite fighting bravely and trying to warn the students, Midnight would be overpowered and killed. Yeah, even with All Might back on the scene, he can't save everybody. The world of My Hero Academia is still brutal, and her death would prove to Class 1A that they can't just rely on the symbol of peace forever. They still need to step up and become the next generation of heroes. The final showdown in Jaku. Back in the devastated, dusty, and ruined wasteland of Jaku City, the final showdown would begin. Shigaraki, now fully awakened with All For One's quirks and a body as tough as a Nomu's, would float in the air, looking completely unfazed and powerful. But waiting for him wouldn't just be Endeavor and an exhausted, broken Deku. It would be Prime, All Might, Deku in full cowl, Bakugo, and Endeavor, all standing side by side. And guys, this is exactly where Endeavor's arc reaches its absolute peak. Seeing All Might standing tall next to him, radiating that familiar golden aura, Endeavor wouldn't feel angry or jealous this time. Instead, looking at the absolute monster Shigaraki has turned into, Endeavor would finally understand what being a hero really means. He'd realize his job isn't to carry the burden all by himself or blindly chase a ghost. His job is to be the ultimate spear right alongside the ultimate shield. A massive weight of insecurity would be lifted off his shoulders, and because of this mental clarity, his prominence burn would burn hotter and brighter than ever before. But wait, we're forgetting somebody, aren't we? Dabi. Right in the middle of this standoff, Dabi would still arrive on Makia's back and broadcast his true identity to the world. He'd do his psychotic dance, revealing he's Toya Todoroki, trying to completely break Endeavor's spirit. In the original story, Endeavor completely froze here, unable to breathe or fight back out of pure guilt. But this time, things play out way differently. While Endeavor freezes in shock, All Might would step right in front of him, blocking Dabi's blue flames with a simple wave of his hand. All Might would look back at Enji, placing a heavy hand on his shoulder. "You're not in this alone, Enji. We're gonna save your boy together." Hearing this from his greatest rival, Endeavor would snap out of his trauma. He wouldn't give up. And seeing his dad hold his ground with All Might, Shoto would get a massive confidence boost, freezing Dabi's flames with his ice. Enraged that his psychological torture didn't work, Shigaraki would go on the offensive. And let me tell you, this fight would be absolutely absurd. Shigaraki would try to use his radio waves and air cannons, but All Might would literally punch the shock waves away, shattering the air itself. Shigaraki would then launch himself straight at Deku to steal one for all, moving faster than a bullet. But before he could even reach his hand out, All Might would intercept him in midair. "You're not touching my boy." All Might would scream, grabbing Shigaraki by the face and slamming him into the ground so hard it would cause a localized earthquake, sending out shockwaves that clear the clouds. But Shigaraki's hyper-regeneration is no joke. He'd adapt, trying to decay All Might's arm the second they make contact. This is where the insane teamwork kicks in. Before the decay can spread, Bakugo would blast Shigaraki's arm away with an AP shot. Deku would use Black Whip to tie up the villain's legs, and Endeavor would scorch his back with a point-blank Hell Spider attack. The synergy between the four of them would be ridiculously powerful. They wouldn't give Shigaraki a single second to breathe or regenerate. Realizing that he is, in fact, losing this fight and his body is falling apart, the vestige of All For One would forcefully take over Shigaraki's mind way earlier than before. AFO would go into a total panic, seeing Prime All Might back in action. He knows damn well he can't win this fight in Shigaraki's current incomplete state. So AFO would focus all of his stolen quirks purely on defense and escape, tearing open a massive black Nomu portal behind him. Not wanting to let the ultimate evil get away, All Might and Deku would look at each other, instantly knowing exactly what to do. Both of them would start sparking with intense energy, Deku glowing with green lightning and Black Whip, and All Might radiating pure, raw physical power. Deku would charge up 100% of his power using Fajin, and All Might would flex every single muscle in his prime body. Together, Master and Student would leap forward, unleashing a perfect, synchronized, double Detroit smash straight into Shigaraki's chest the exact moment he steps into the portal. The raw, catastrophic force of the impact would completely shatter Shigaraki's ribs and spine, totally nullifying his hyper-regeneration and putting him into a near-death coma as he fades into the void. A new future for Hero Society. The villains would manage to escape, but the fallout of the Paranormal Liberation War would be vastly different. Since All Might stopped Shigaraki from causing maximum destruction and saved countless heroes from the decay wave, the casualty count would be drastically lower. Hero Society wouldn't completely collapse. Civilians would see All Might on their screens, exhausted but standing tall and victorious alongside Endeavor and the students. Because of that, public hope would remain intact. And you know what that means? The Dark Deku arc would never happen. Deku wouldn't feel the need to leave UA, abandon his friends, and carry the weight of the world on his own, because his mentor would be right there beside him, stronger than ever. Instead, the heroes would go on the offensive. All Might, Deku, Endeavor, and Hawks would form an absolute elite strike squad, actively hunting down the remaining villains together. When All For One's original body tried to break out of Tartarus prison, he wouldn't just find regular guards waiting for him. He'd find Prime All Might standing at the gates. Imagine the absolute hype. Tartarus escapees like Muscular and Moonfish would try to rush All Might, thinking they actually stand a chance. Muscular would pump up his muscle mass to the max and throw a punch, but All Might would just catch it with a single hand, completely crushing Muscular's arm before one-shotting him straight into the reinforced concrete. It would be non-stop heroic domination, with All Might cleaning up the streets and keeping the villains in a constant state of fear. But with All For One now taking total control of Shigaraki's broken, hiding body and desperately calling in the strongest international villains to deal with the return of the symbol of peace, how will the final war play out? Are All Might and America's #1 hero, Star, and Stripe gonna team up to to wipe All for One out of existence once and for all. Let me know down in the comments if you guys want a part 2. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, click on one of the videos popping up on the screen to keep binge watching. Thanks for watching. Remember, I'm Shoyo, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.